talk a little bit about short-term rentals or vacation homes. When it comes to short-term rentals, you really need to be more involved. You need to be more in the weeds, and you need to automate as much as you possibly can, because short-term or vacation rentals are a different ballgame. Everything we just talked about when it comes to long-term and mid-term rentals, that is completely different from short-term rentals. This is where your systems will either make you or break you, honey. You need to do a lot of things in order for you to be efficient and to be very organized. We're talking even your cleaning systems need to be efficient and they need to be organized. Your training modules for the cleaning ladies need to be organized and systematized. You need automated tools that can help streamline your operations, and most importantly, the guest experience. And by automation, we mean when those guests go onto your property, do you have to run over there and give them the keys? Can you have a drop box with a code for them to put the keys? Better yet, do what Nandy does. Can you have a keypad where there's no need for a key? The key is only there as backup. They can go in. Most people do this, right? This is not rocket science. It's very common for Airbnbs to have an automated key process. And that key process would change the lock number every time the guests go there. Boom, 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 boom. New lock. When they check out, that keypad changes. And when it's time to onboard the new guest, they get a new key code. Why am I calling it a key code? A door pad code. A door code. So all of these things will guarantee that you have less headaches. When it comes to your cleaning lady, I add my cleaning lady as an assistant property manager, and she can sometimes answer questions for me. If the guests are asking for something, she already knows what they're asking for. I don't need to go back and translate information to her. She has that information. And because she is on site and I am long distance. You need that type of support. Ordering certain reusable items. I have a playlist that's already ready to go. Every single month, all I have to do is press a button and those things go through. And if the cleaning lady is like, wait, we have way too much paper towels, when I make that purchase, I just remove that particular one button, click, do not order this, everything else goes. Automate as much as you can. Messaging. I have pre-written messages that are programmed into my Airbnb and on my phone when I use other platforms that don't have the same messaging automation systems. So when they book, an automatic message goes, thank you for choosing our property, blah, 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 blah. So some key automation tools, if you wanted to use them, right? Some people use dynamic pricing software tools like Priceline and Beyond Pricing. I have used both of these automation tools because they help you understand what is happening in your market and adjust your pricing accordingly. So instead of you getting on your phone and going online looking at, okay, is there an event coming up? Do I need to lower my price or increase my price? Dynamic pricing will do that for you. A lot of these softwares now also have their own dynamic pricing. With this one, however, you do have to be careful because they can kind of try to get you often on the very low end. And I've also realized that for my properties in the city, dynamic pricing works well, but for my properties in rural area where there isn't a lot around for them to be able to gauge that pricing, it's so off. It's so off. I've had properties that were being marketed for almost $200 more than everybody else around me, and that was cutting into my booking. So just some things for you to keep in mind. Now, if you wanted to use certain booking management platforms, these are available. Lots of people swear by them. I think that if you only have one or two properties, this may not be an option. However, if you hope to scale to 10, 15 properties, these hosting platforms become almost like you're creating your own version of your own Airbnb, right? So you have Hospitable is one, Guesty and Lodgify. All of these will integrate with various rental property platforms, right, to centralize your reservation and avoid any double booking. So if you wanted to pull in Booking.com, Airbnb, VRBO, VRBO, and all of these different platforms, you can manage everything from here so that you have visibility on who is coming, when they're coming. If they've already booked on Airbnb, it blocks the calendar so that no one on booking.com or VRBO can book. Sometimes you can do this directly on Airbnb, but it does become challenging if you are on too many platforms. Guest communication, I shared this a little bit more. So let me be a little bit more specific when it comes to the automation of messages. This is probably the most important thing you can do to save your sanity. Because with Airbnb, you will get a lot of people who are not booking, who just want to ask X, Y, and Z questions because they're still shopping around for the best property. And once they become a guest, there's even more questions, right? So some of the questions will be specific, but for any communication that is standard, go ahead and automate. You can use Smart BNB, you can use HostAway, and this will handle booking confirmation, check-in instructions, house rule, review requests. Automate these things that are standard. So you do not, so that you do not have to be the person to be going out there and, making sure that you're manually doing check-in messaging. Automate it all. Now, I'm going to be very honest. If you just have one property, you may be able to handle it, but honestly, why should you? But if you have more than one property, this is a non-negotiable. But sometimes when you only have one property, it may not justify the cost of you using some of these automated tools. Keyless entry. We need to circle back to this because I want to give a few more details on the importance of you not having to be fear of somebody walking out with the key. You guys, that happened to me one time where the guest walked out with the key. Something happened to the code and I only had one master key. Because I was like, well, the code is there. Worst case scenario, the master key will work for them. Somehow, I don't know if the tenant didn't know how to put batteries where they needed to go, but we tried to get them to change. I gave them the master key so that they can unlock the door and change the batteries. But they were like, it didn't work. So they kept the keys for like the 3 months they stayed. And when they left, they took the keys. It was a nightmare. I had to overnight keys to my cleaning lady so we can get ready for the next tenant. It was an utter nightmare. So now, not only do I have smart keyless entries, but I also have multiple keys on site, right? And some of the smart locks that a lot of people use that I've used in the past are August. I personally haven't used August, but the two that I've used are Shalage and Yell. I have used those, but I've also used other things like UFI. So many options out there. Just be very careful not to, what's the term that I'm trying to use? You can go broke buying some of these keyless entries, but unfortunately, all of them kind of have the same issues, right? When it gets too hot, batteries become an issue. So you always need a backup key. So now I have several drop boxes on my property. I have the drop boxes for my staff, my cleaning lady, my maintenance man, any person who's going out there to do any HVAC person, etc. And then I have one for the guests so that if they need one, there's the code, you go in, you take that key. But you're not using my staff's key, right? So there's a distinction between those. And then here on site, I also have backups for all those different keys, okay? So you always want to make sure that you are protecting yourself, right? You want to allow your guests to be able to check in without a physical key, but in case of an emergency, there is something out there that they can use. Cleaning and maintenance schedules. There are also apps that you can use that would help this process for you. I haven't used them, but I've actually heard lots of people say really good things about this app, right? There's Turnover BNB and there's Breezeway. And what these will do is that they will connect you with cleaning services in your area that will help automate the turnover schedule, right? So my person who cleans for me and manages my property on site is added as my co-host on my Airbnb. That is also an option. But if you have too many of them, these automating tools will be great for you, right? And this is also really important. If there was ever a cancellation, a guest issue, they are there, you're communicating with them and they know, right? So your cleaning lady, no, you don't need to message them, hey, on Tuesday, the person will be checking out, can you come? They know it because you guys are connected to this app. A few more automation things that I want to touch on. Expense tracking and accounting. Vacation rentals or short-term rentals are extremely costly. You will constantly be putting in money into these things. You have got to have a way of tracking every expense for these properties. QuickBooks is a favorite one of mine and a favorite of a lot of people. Some people use Tessa, but there are lots of different options. You need to research what works best for you. And sometimes just Excel is fine. Okay, but you need to monitor your cash flow, you need to track your expenses, but most importantly, you need to prepare for tax season. And the more organized you are with your money, the easier it's going to be for you during tax season, and that will save you money. Do not sleep on expense automation. And right now I use Simplify to manage all of my rental expenses. I no longer have a complex system. So Simplify for me, it's just a way where I go and I track all of my personal, rental, and business expenses. They're all from separate accounts, but they feed into the same software. I want to repeat that. All of my expenses are on separate accounts. For my rental business, it's one account. For my business, the new business I'm building, it's on one account. My personal expenses are on a different account, but they all funnel into the same software, not as separate budget, but as separate categorized transactions. Okay, that is just a way for me to make my life easier. And when I have a little bit more time, I might be able to switch that into a more complex system. But that is simple and it works for me today. And my tax guy is always very happy because when I hand in my paperwork, I was like, this is exactly how much I spent here. This is how much I spent here. And I have the receipts to prove everything.
Before you go, follow me on my other platforms. On my business channel for career, business, and money strategies to build your corporate exit strategy. On my lifestyle and travel vlog for the real life behind the strategy. And on my podcast From Corporate to CEO for daily side business tips and motivation. But the real work happens in the community. This is where we support each other and build this together. Same values, same season, and same direction. I'll see you there.